Hello, everybody. Welcome to Geometry Creative Week. My name is Juan Jo Posada. I'm here to talk about design. My background is as an art director or a designer. And why is design important for creating iconic work? Because the content is really important, but how you wrap it up, the form that it takes is so relevant. And I'm here to talk to you about why design is important. And I've called my talk "My Imposter Syndrome Feeling with Design," and you'll see why. Many of you might ask, what's an imposter syndrome? And I can say that it's a psychological pattern in which one doubts one's accomplishments and has a persistent internalized fear of being exposed as a fraud. Despite external evidence of their competence, they feel they do not deserve all they have achieved. Individuals with imposterism incorrectly attribute their success to luck. Why is this, and why do I feel that way? It all started when I went to work in London, because here in LATAM, and I have a background as an art director, we don't have the luxury of having people special, like really specialized within agencies in design or art direction. So we sort of have to do both. And I learned when I was in London that I was asked, but are you an art director or a designer? So I'm like, okay, I think I'm more of an art director. So I don't feel that comfortable saying I'm a designer, even though in LATAM here I am. So I would have to share some evidence that I know what I'm talking about, even though I feel that I should not call myself a designer. And some facts are that, first of all, I was jury in Cannes, which is difficult to achieve, but I was jurying in the design category. So I might know a thing or two about design. And also I have won gold in design in Cannes, and also as in one show and Art Directors Club in New York. And not only that, but in the Art Directors Club of New York, I've also won that transparent cube, which is called Designism. It's sort of a Grand Prix for the Art Directors Club of Design. So I will not bring any more facts. I don't like to talk about myself, but I just wanted to let you know that even though I don't consider I should be speaking about design, I know a thing or two. So the first case study I want to share with you, it was one of my first design winners. It was called Slice a Recipe. It's a cookbook that we made for a client in Colombia, Carulla, which is a supermarket chain that has cooking lessons. And this is what we did.
One of the first things you learn at a cooking school is how to use a knife. That's why we gave our students this special introductory cookbook. Slice a Recipe. The cookbook to improve your cutting skills. Students had to actually cut the book apart in order to see the recipes. They had to follow thin cutting lines. With each slice, they saw what to do in cooking class, cut by cut. Due to its success, a second edition of the cookbook is on its way.
This is my learning that I want to share about that specific case study. And is that design needs to have a hierarchy. What was the important thing here? The recipes, not the book cover. So that's why, if you remember, that's how the book looks like. It wasn't about the outside of the book, it was about the inside. So design needs to have hierarchy. That's something I want you guys to remember. Now I want to go to the next case study. It was a beautiful project that we did for Coca-Cola. This was also done in Colombia. We were working with Ogilvy, who came up with a beautiful idea. And I was responsible for well, not just part of the idea, but the design of the product. And you'll see what I'm talking about. Let's watch.
Hace unos días me llamó la gente de Coca-Cola y ellos quieren ayudarnos, pero requieren el apoyo de todos y cada uno de nosotros.
Cada gota de esta agua proviene del cielo y lloró. El pueblo donde más llueve en el mundo. Usted puede usarla para regar una planta o para darle agua potable a las personas de mi pueblo.
So, as I said, I was responsible for the design of the bottles, and it was a difficult task for several reasons. One of them because these bottles were really expensive. They costed $250, which in Colombia it's a lot of money for a bottle filled with water. But it also had to represent the people from Lloró, and we started with really complex designs, really complex, and we understood that it wasn't attached to the idea. It spoke differently. It didn't speak about the people from that small town, people that are really, really humble. So then that's when I decided, let's have them creating or doing the packaging design. I came up with this. This was the initial thought that I had. It had to be really simple. It would have to work like with any design that any of the inhabitants of Chocó could have done, and it needed to work with any bottle. So that's when we created this. This is how it sort of worked, and you saw it in the video. This was the final product, which was beautiful because every bottle was different to the other one. So when people really paid for the bottles, they were really satisfied with the outcome. And you saw that as part of the video. Also, the artisans, the people from Lloró were so excited that they were part of the project. So my learning here to get to iconic design, and this is what we did in this specific case, is play Jenga with design. And if you're not familiar with Jenga, Jenga is one of those games in which you build a tower made out of pieces of wood and you start to take things out. So go all the way, and when it crumbles, you just go one step behind. What I'm trying to say with this is that you can start removing elements until it perfectly works. If I took out the raindrops, it wouldn't be the same. If I would have taken the rain for sale, it would have been the same. So those elements had to stay. We stick to the minimum amount of elements. So the Jenga tower was still there. And we took out what was unnecessary. Unfortunately, I don't have the early designs, but they were so complex. They looked like perfumes. And I think that simple here was much better. I'm going to share with you another project that we did for the Ministry of Environment of Colombia. This was also a beautiful project in which Edwin, who is the ECD in Colombia, and Julian, who is the ECD in Dubai, worked really, really hard on. So thanks to them as well. I was called Flora for Fauna. And one of my tasks here, obviously with a team of people, was to create the packaging. And let's see the case study and you'll understand why it needed to have specific things on it.
如果你想女人爱你，你就要有男人的雄风。
China is the world's largest market for illegal aphrodisiacs. Men don't care about where these products come from or the species that had to die for them. We realized that no traditional campaign could stop the demand for these shady sex enhancers. But what if we could trick them into trying a legal and sustainable alternative? We gave them Flora for Fauna. Camouflaging it as a forbidden elixir, we introduced China to the Colombian chontaduro, a fruit so powerful it's popularly compared to Viagra. First, we needed a provocative Chinese name.
蛇手图
Then a brand identity specially crafted to blend into the category's look and feel. Inspired by the neons of the red light districts and establishments we infiltrated, the pack was designed to dramatize the transformation of any man who acquires the power of chontaduro. Increased demand of the product led to the opening of distribution channels across southern China.
Y en el tema del tráfico de fauna, uno de los elementos que más estamos combatiendo es la erradicación de esas costumbres.
We created a sustainable alternative, a range of aphrodisiacs that will keep protecting endangered species for years to come. Flora for Fauna, swapping illegal aphrodisiacs for a legal, sustainable one.
So as you could see, the packaging that we designed, it had to be a bit chaotic because that's what you find in these sex shops in China. But also what we did is that we created a packaging that had two different moments. One of them was when it was inside the sex shops, which we discovered that have lots of neon lights. And also there were other red light environments. So the packaging was one when you saw it under this red light environments, and it was another one when it was taken out of that. My learning here is that in design, to create iconic design, sometimes more is more. So here we had to add an extra layer to the design. So it had two different moments. So minimalism is very good in design, but for this specific case, sometimes more is more. And now over to this other project, which we have shared before. It was called Priceless Weapons. We needed to design elements so that the fishermen could hunt an invasive species that has poisonous spines on the back. So we had to create artifacts that protected the fishermen. So what I'm trying to make a point here is that when you design for the rich, that's easy because you can pay for whatever material you need. But here it wasn't the case. Here, the first fishermen are really, really poor people in the Colombian coast. So they live with an income of $6 a day. So to make these weapons, they could not invest money in. So we designed these weapons that they could create or build with something that they would find as recyclable material, for example, this. And when assembled, it would look like that. So once again, we could have designed artifacts that would cost, let's say, $100, but it wouldn't be useful for them. They would not be able to buy it. This is when design came in handy for them, because they could have done it without any budget at all. And we also were very careful on the way we taught them how to build this. So when the Ministry of Environment went there, they could learn very easily how to assemble this pieces of work, these materials. This is how the posters looked like when we gave it to them. This is how the board looks. But let's watch the case study, which is more beautiful.
Mi abuelo fue pescador. Mi papá también es pescador. Yo soy pescador y espero que mis hijos sean pescadores. Uno aquí vive con 15 barras de la pesca, pero si no coge uno nada, se va sin nada.
El animal es venenoso al contacto humano, pero una vez cazado es delicioso.
La pesca del pez no es fácil, requiere una técnica, requiere un tiempo, y eso obviamente es un proceso en el que estamos construyendo esa cultura, no solo de consumo, sino de cómo generamos la posibilidad de que esos pescadores desarrollen su actividad.
Ay, yo pensaba que era más difícil, es práctico y sí, se puede utilizar.
Yo no solo quiero ser un pescador, también quiero ser un cazador de pez león.
So what I learned from this project is that we need to design for the poor as well. It's so easy to design when you have a budget. When it comes really difficult, when you don't have any budget at all. So we also need to be prepared for that, mostly in developing countries. Also, there came another idea in which design was at the center, at the heart of the idea. But because I cannot ruin the idea, I will need to share it first with you. So that project was called Posters for Catching Fishermen. was not only about the design, which we did take into account, and thanks Jan and Danilo for the work you guys did in London with this, because we thought this fish is so awful, but at the same time, it can look beautiful if you make it work for the design, and this is what we did. Obviously, the content was really important. Where to hunt it, which were the characteristics of the fish, how to capture it, why capture it, the toxicology, because as I said, this fish is poisonous, and the fishermen are not familiar with it. So they had to learn a lot, because if it's not that if they were stung, they would die, but they would be in bed for 8 days, and for their income, that's something they cannot afford, the luxury of being 8 days in bed. And this is a bit of how that looked. At that point, it didn't have to look ugly. It could look beautiful. So the fishermen would be proud of having that and wearing it with them. So my learning here is that there's a bit of a mystery that you can live in design. Like, you can leave something to be discovered. You don't have to be like, everything doesn't have to be up front. This was very impactful when they discovered what it could do when they ripped the poster open. Now I would like to share some project that we have done here in Geometry Mexico very recently. We are working for the Red Cross, and they have an annual collect. And because the space that they have is given by the media, is donated by the media, we have like 100 and something different formats, from very horizontal to very vertical to a square to all of the formats in between. So that's why we created this piece of design. So my learning here to use that design needs to be flexible. We had almost 200 different formats. So we built this system so it could accommodate in a beautiful way for the Red Cross to use out there. And also what it did was that it spoke to a different audience here in Mexico. The Red Cross, let's say the young people were not very familiar with the Red Cross. It wasn't that appealing to them, but with this design system that we created, the younger audience felt more attracted to the Red Cross. And just to end, I was also responsible with part of my team here to do the Geometry Creative Week brand identity system. So I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys feel that it's something we're proud of. And what I can say from that is design is something you also fit in the stomach, right? So sometimes you don't have to overanalyze things. You just go like, you know what? I love it or I don't like it. You just feel it.
No,
So I hope that this happens with you on this beautiful piece of work for my criteria that we created for Geometry Creative Week. And but again, if you go like nah, I don't like what this guy is talking about. He doesn't know about design. Don't worry. We can all have an imposter syndrome. As a matter of fact, these guys have imposter syndrome, and they know one thing or two about what they're doing. So thank you. That was my subject for today, and that's my handle. In case you guys want to reach out to me, send me an email, whatever. Thank you so much. Thank you, Geometry.